Okay, so we're at Synth UI to start. First off, there's no title on this page. I need a title. I spell synth right. Couple other things. How easy are sliders to do? Can I just make it type equals range and then set the min and max? Let me try that for amplitude. Does that work? Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, but it's only two options. Okay, then you can say step. Can I make step 0.01 or something? Is that how this works? Oh, cool. I'm gonna go replace these with sliders. So now we have different stuff. So hold on, octave's gotta be a little bit different. Isn't there like a number input type? Yeah, just do type equals number. And now we got the up and down arrows here. Okay, so basically what I want to do is I want to have different instruments. Instead of just being able to do add wave inputs, I want to do add instrument so that you can have multiple instruments. And so we're going to need a button for this. I guess I have like a div here, and then the div has like a waveform ID. So I guess I would do the same thing with an instrument. Oh, this is annoying. I hate this already. But yeah, I'm just matching my code from below. So now we have a new div identification. And this is going to be instrument-0. And basically, I'm just going to like do what I did before. All right, so I've got a number of waves. Let's do number of instruments as well. And now actually number of waves has to be an array. And then we have to know like the instrument ID for whatever it is that we're using. But luckily I can kind of just look at my code below and sort of copy that. Copy this, and let me edit it slightly. I think this is what I'd wrap essentially is this. So let me just paste that in here and then do escapes on everything. Okay, yeah, right there is one spot. I think all these are gonna need to know the number of instruments there are as well. But now when you click add wave inputs, it needs to know which one you're adding it to. We have to give it an instrument number. But now all these have to be numbered within their instruments. And then this just can't be number of waves. It has to be the number of waves within the instrument number. All right, well, we gotta add the delete instrument, which will take in an index number. And then delete instrument is gonna be pretty similar to the delete wave input. Right, but instead of doing waveform, we do instrument, and then we subtract from the data set. But instead of NOW, we do NOI. Let's just see what happens. Can it still play? No. Does it know the note length? The note length is already undefined. I need to make these all arrays at the start. Still getting nothing here. It's apparently empty and then 0.25. Oh, it's called instrument 1. Okay, I see the problem. We start with 0 instruments. Now does it work? Okay, I'm hearing something at least. Well, what does our number of waves look like right now? We have 1 wave. Wait, why is number of waves 1? It should be an array with a 1 in it. I'm using this in a lot of places without actually having fixed it. Also, oh, here's a problem. Why am I doing it on number of instruments? It should be the instrument number. There's a popping. So what's with the popping? I think that's what I forgot about was ADSR. Yeah, because I'm just using attack. Okay, I forgot about ADSR. And then we can just do instruments and then just add these to all of these and it should fix our problem. So if I add waveform, I get an error. Actually, just nothing happens. Ugh. Oh, okay. I did this wrong. Put an end quote. Okay, add waveform works. Cannot read properties of null. So it tries to get instrument. Oh, probably because I use inst and not instrument. It's just instra. Delete the waveform. Functions. I want to put more separation between the instruments, I think. Yeah, at the bottom of this, can I just like have an HR? Okay, cool. So now we have different instruments and we can add specific waveforms to whichever one we want. And if we want to delete a specific one, we're able to delete a specific one. That doesn't sound right though. W is less than number of waves. Oh, you can't say while W is less than number of waves. I gotta put the INSTR in there. I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but it's wrong. What does our sound array look like? Yeah, that's very easy to interpret. Okay, we have a bunch of nons. Starting with 3601, we're getting nons. Well, now we have a breakpoint that make it stop at that. So far, pretty boring. Value is multiplied by times equals sustain. Okay, there's the one I missed. I didn't even notice it. This is great. Okay, great. So now I just have to make it so that you can select different instruments. Use instruments, and then give it an instrument number. Okay, right. So now we have a use instrument button, just like the delete instrument button. We're gonna have a function here, unhighlight instrument, just to make sure that we don't have more than one thing highlighted at once. So then we can just say usebox.style.order is equal to px solid lime green. And when we want to unhighlight everything else, the easiest way to probably do this would just be to like make this a class. I'll just call it class useboxes. And so then we can say document.get elements by class name, call it useboxes, and then we're going to go through that array. So we just make sure that there's no border. So it is working. I want to make it so you can press control to switch. I don't know what key control is, so 17. Right, I'm going to have a function here called switch instrument. Instrument selected equals instrument selected plus 1 modded by the number of instruments. And then that way it'll loop through it. Throw this into the use instrument function. So we can add some instruments, I can click on it and it also works, but I can press control as well. So then I can go and now that we have all our instruments, I feel like it might be a good idea to be able to save all that data. How to cookie. I can just say document.cookie. The cookie is deleted when the browser is closed, so you want to add an expiration date to it. Oh, that's neat. I could just like take this. Alright, that's neat. How do you retrieve the cookie though? Oh, here we go. Just get the cookie. Wow, this is great. I love copying and pasting. Up here we got the save and load box. I'll just call this save. I'll call this load. So we got our instrument data, we got our save string, which is the string that we're going to save, and we have an expiration time. What's the limit? Is there a limit for the amount of time? No more than 400 days in the future. 400, whatever. And then we would do get cookie, and we'd get instrument data. And that would be our load string. But now we've got to make our save string so that we can go and interpret it and get all this stuff back. I wonder if there's like a function to just like break down an array into its constituent parts like really easily and then like put it back together. Oh yeah, json.parse. json.stringify, and then that would be our save string. And then that gets us right back to where we were. Okay, so now I just have to figure out which variables I want to save. I think it'd be all of these. We could put this all into like one big array. So instead of save string, I could call it save r. So that's our save array. Then we do json.stringify our save array. And I realized that, yeah, it might be better to like do a key value system here. If you wanted to move something around, it would break a save, but I don't care, so I'm not doing that. Now we do json.parse our load string, and then that's gonna be our load array. Paste it down here, and then just say equals load r, and then that should do a save load data. The only issue with that is that it will load everything, but it won't like render everything. I guess let's start by emptying everything. Let's make instrument box.innerHTML completely empty. We say add instruments, and then from there we say add a wave input for each of them. For like attack, for example, I don't want to give it an ID just to be able to refer to it. Could I go by class? I mean, like, is there a way to get class in the children? Is that a thing? Okay, and then we could say like the dot and then the class. Okay, and then that might work. So I'm gonna give it a class and just call it attack. I just have to add them for here too. So for this selector, this is wave type for the class, amplitude, phase. Those are all the classes. Oh, right, yeah, okay, so instrument element dot query selector. I've never used this function before. And then we say dot attack. And then that's going to equal attack I. Okay, then copy this a few times and do the other ones. All right, and then we just got to do this again, but down here. So this is what, wave amp, I, J, and lastly, phase I, J. I'm going to hit save. So when I hit load, is it going to function? It did nothing. Fantastic. Unexpected end of JSON input. Get cookie instrument data is coming up nothing. I don't know why it wouldn't be saving, so let me try and figure this out. Maybe because like there already is a save data function or something, and I'm like overwriting it. So I'm just gonna call like save inst data. So if it's say, oh, okay, that seems to be the issue. Apparently save data is like a built-in function here. If I say document.cookie, there's nothing there. It's not doing anything. So I get the feeling that it doesn't work if you're offline. Apparently you can't save cookies locally. All right, whatever. Okay, I have to do this part online, which makes this part inaccessible. Though if you do want to save your instruments and you don't have access to a web server, you're not entirely out of options. Right-click, save as, then save the web page as something, and then here's the web page that I just saved. If I open it back up, everything's saved. So I shouldn't save this to number of instruments. That should be a temp variable. And then instead of going through number of instruments, we go through temp number of instruments, temp number of waves. But that doesn't match. See that? That's not matching. Because I'm saying temp now, and I should be saying temp now I, right? All right, now it's the right values, but they're the default values. It's not actually updating it. Release should be 0.2. And right here, it says release is 0.25. So it didn't update the value. Okay, every time you change the attack, it doesn't look at what you're changing. It just changes the first one. Okay, I'm saying this dot value, but I should be saying this dot dataset dot NOI. It's still not functioning, but it got the right values for it, so I don't know why it's not putting them in properly. Because it sets the default values when you add the instrument, and then that would just overwrite everything. So I'm just going to set a new value in add instrument, set defaults. It's only loading one now. Why does it hate me? Cannot read properties of null. I see. Up to here, move add wave inputs to here. Okay, it works now. That only took about forever. So we load, now we have an instrument loaded, can hit control. There was one other thing I wanted to do here, which is let you use two voices simultaneously, just on different keys. See if I can do that real quick. All right, let me copy that and let me just get the key codes here. I'll be using W to O. Okay, there's the key codes. So let me copy them into here. And then I probably just need an additional argument here as to which keyboard you're using. So let me create just a global for that because that's the easiest way to do it. Okay, right, so when you go into it, key set using is the default 0. But if you get past all of that original stuff, then key set using is 1. Then I basically just have to change all the spots where I use instrument selected, because instrument selected is now going to be an array. So let's just change all the other spots where I use it. So instra is instrument selected key set using. Same thing here. We need to know which instrument we're setting. We also have to give it a key set. Let's have it default to 0. And when we do the switch here, we have to do that same thing. Give this one a key set. Pass the key set into the use instrument. I also use it on the on click. But I'm going to have two different buttons for that soon. Let me look at the switch instrument. Right, this will switch instrument 0. Now, what's the key code for shift? 16 as opposed to control 17. So I'm going to have the other button to switch keys for the top row. I'll have that be shift. But then I want to have more buttons for this too. Just copy that whole row. Annoyingly, this had a unique ID before, so I got to make them more unique. So where else do I use usebox? So usebox bottom, top. I'm just putting in a switch here. That way the two switches will highlight differently. Great, so now if I add another instrument, I press Control, I can switch between the two with the bottom row and Shift to switch between the other row. So the bottom row should be playing the top instrument. And then the top row should be playing the second instrument here. So then that way you can play with both hands with different instruments. I'm sure if you're like a good musician, you could make something that sounds decent out of this. Wow, I sound like the seventh guest.